going to give you guys a little bit of a breakdown on what's going to happen this morning, just so that you're aware of everything that's going to go down. So basically, once I'm done speaking here, Beth's going to come on, give you a breakdown of the macro environment, go through any news events that happen over the course of the evening, or they're going to be happening today, going through any of the bigger picture items, commodities, ETFs, bigger cap names, whatever that makes sense to be looking at in regards to those news events in the short term. Once that's done, I'm going to be going through the individual names that I'm looking at that are gapping up, gapping down. We'll talk about the technicals on those names, build an action plan for them on the open, as well as go through the SPY, the FANG, the VIX, QQQs, and IWM as well. After that's done, I'll pass over to Selpeach while I type up that pre-market action plan, and he'll go through any macro events that he's looking at, analyst calls for the day, as well as individual names that he's looking at. And then we'll do a quick little recap of those individual names and the SPY, the FANG, et cetera, that I talked about this morning. And we'll be ready for the open. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Beth, and I will talk to you guys shortly. Beth, if you're ready, all yours.
I'm indeed, sir. Thank you so much. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, friends. Welcome. Pre-market here. It's Spartan Trading Wednesday. A warm welcome to those of you who join us through our live YouTube stream. This is what we do every morning. Lots to talk about, obviously. We've got FOMC, right? We've got Evergrande, right? Okay. I think the most important thing is everybody took a deep breath, and the sky did not fall overnight with China and Evergrande. What's really fascinating is that as I read more and more about this, it's only 1% of the debt in China in terms of the bank exposure. So I found that really fascinating. So we'll go over the details with that. Something that really is also piquing my interest. I don't know if you've been paying attention to this, but these crude stocks continue to just get whittled down dramatically. This is API. This is notable, especially as we go into the winter season. This could be the catalyst in terms of supply that could drive oil a lot higher. It's something to keep. I did see yesterday there was some buying some of the refiners, and I'm actually going to start looking at that and following some of those, FYI. It was though, so what happened with China, right, is that they provided liquidity to the system, billions and billions of dollars worth, right? This equals, for those of you who are keeping score, quantitative easing. So, you know, the drill with quantitative easing, if you've got lots of liquidity being pumped into your system, right, then stocks, equities becomes a lot more attractive. We have all kinds of other side notes going on in terms of foreign direct investments. I personally think that the Chinese government is finding out really fast that they were a little bit heavy-handed in some of the stuff they're doing. Longer term, I think this is a net plus. Once again, as long as they start to get closer to the global way in which we deal with securities, right? Reporting and things like that. I think it's important, right? Longer term. Right? So what do we got today? We've got existing home sales, right? But clearly in EIA, clearly it's the Fed. All right, and we're going to be doing a little bit of a deep dive later on in this pre-market on the Fed, what to look at, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. All right, so here it is. China keeps having liquidity, yada, yada, yada. $18.6 billion. It's the biggest. Now, don't forget, okay, that this is an issue that's been going on for years and years and years and years and years that the Chinese central bank has never dealt with. And I think a lot of the regulatory changes that they're doing is trying to deal with some of these issues in terms of their debt load, okay? We'll see how things play out, right? Okay, Evergrande domestic debt deal comes, immediate contagion concern. There's no contagion with this. The only contagion we have basically is with like Hong Kong, Shanghai Bank, any banks that have exposure to Evergrande. But once again, I mean, I think that the market is taking a look back. They threw the baby out with the bathwater, and fantastic reset in terms of an overbought situation on so many indicators that can allow this market to start to climb up again, make new highs, et cetera. I'm incredibly bullish in terms of what's transpired in the last couple of weeks for this market. And we'll go over that as well. Okay, here we go. keep on going. So what happened though with Evergrande, 36 million payment on Thursday, and there's a bond that's due private negotiations. What they're doing is they're basically giving their real estate properties as collateral for a lot of these loans that they have. The fiscal assets. China's regulatory risk triggering relied economic. You betcha. You betcha. You know, they're going to find out the hard way. The market will punish them for this. And internally, a lot of, Chinese individuals who own stock is not going to be happy either. Right? High tech pushes, seeks to reassert global factory dominance. We'll have to keep an eye on this because we know that we went over this yesterday in terms of foreign direct investments. The US from China, they've done a fantastic job of basically getting out of China in terms of a lot of the manufacturing. It's still in the Pacific Rim, Asia, but we're also starting to see that coming back to the US, okay? Economic pain, yada, yada. These are all the headlines, right? All right, this is a huge, huge deal because this sets up the narrative that I've been discussing for multiple weeks now, okay? Lowering guidance, and it's due to, this is due to, in terms of labor issues. But what happens when you also have combined labor with supply chain disruptions? Right? This also basically says that Amazon is kicking their ass, FedEx. I'm just saying. Just saying. Okay, one second. Then we have, I love this channel for those of you who are on CNBC Pro, just please. This is their Asia Pacific Rim Pro. So many great stuff comes through on this. All right, so I'm just saying it's a great, first thing in the morning, I love to follow what they're saying in terms of overall market and the health of what's going on in China, right? It's all about Evergrande today, right? This won't pass. You know, this is the one thing that's going to piss off the Treasury and the FOMC is this whole debt ceiling situation. So the question is, and we know that Guggenheim was saying that the FOMC is going to be less inclined to be aggressive in the tapering. They're going to announce tapering. They can't not, right? I have to say about the Democrats and Republicans, I'm neutral. Do your job, please. Just do your job. All right, Treasury Borrowing Committee warns Yellen of debt limit risks. So this is bond dealers, investors are saying, yoo-hoo. Delta variant. We're going to talk about this. And I want to talk about this because it was a fascinating situation that happened on MSNBC. This is dude. He's fantastic. He's brilliant. Okay, and he's out of Baylor, and he's much better than Dr. Gottlieb. Just saying, the dude is amazing. Okay, so what's going on here? Basically, the dude, and this is the dude. Okay, and this is Hotez. Okay, and Hotez, and he basically has been for years looking at ways to deal with in the Sahara Pacific Rim, as well as South America, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And he basically went on a tirade yesterday. And the reality is this mRNA, it can't really be used in Africa, okay? So his take was they need 9 billion doses of whatever. Baylor is actually creating and can manufacture not mRNA type vaccines, COVID vaccines, but they can mass produce, okay, what's necessary. So it's stable, you don't have to worry about refrigeration, yada, 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 right? Okay. He basically came out and said, 500 million, not enough. They need 9 billion dosages to even start to begin getting a hold of what's going on in terms of Africa, South Africa, Asia Pacific Rim, okay? So I believe Nigeria has the largest population in sub-Saharan Africa, okay? 2.1%. So this is why this COVID isn't gonna go away anytime soon, is because if you look in terms of global immunity, right? Your herd immunity, it's gotta be like 80%, 80, 90%. Guess what? COVID's here to stay. All right, so let's talk about the Fed. I'm not exactly sure what to expect. I don't know what the market's looking for. I just don't know. They want taper. I don't know. I think the market's already priced in some tapering, but not aggressive tapering. So I don't know. I just don't know. So what's the moral to the story? We'll see how the bond market reacts, and we'll see how the market reacts. Sometimes the first reaction isn't the correct reaction, but we'll move forward with that, right? Okay. All right. So let's take a peek here. This is the Wall Street Journal actually has Fed statement trackers. So what they do is they cross out the previous Fed meeting, and then they highlight the new verbiage. Right. So we know that we're looking for that. Right. We're looking for the dot plot change. All right. So I'm going to take a picture of this. All right. And then what I'm going to do is we're going to compare it. I'll compare it to what the new dot plot looks like. All right. So what are we looking for? This is what we're looking for right here. Right. Right now, if you look in terms of what they're looking for, right, they're not looking for any sort of rate hike, okay, until the end of 2022. And you can see that right here. So we have to see if there's a shift going on in there. That's important, okay? Right. So that's going to be notable. Powell speaks, takes Q&A, has a statement, 2:30. We'll see what that happens. I'm almost thinking, it's like, there's going to be a relief rally as a result of this, but I don't know. Who knows, right? The FedEx thing really got me concerned because of the low-end guidance, and I think that's going to be a theme for this next earnings cycle. So, let's see. Don't forget, what are they looking at? Okay, they're looking at a trimmed mean CPI. Okay, that's what they're looking at. They're not looking at the raw data, they're looking at a trimmed data. So what does that mean? They kick out the top tier and they kick out the bottom tier, and it's the average of the middle, right? Irregardless, all of these are showing that it's above it actually isn't bad, except if you look at this 1 month, it's 3.2%. But if you look in terms of the 6 month, I mean, what did they say? 2.5%, right? So, and if you look at the 1 year, it's 2%. So irregardless, they're going to talk about tapering. They're going to start tapering. If they don't, I don't think the market's going to be very happy with that. Okay. All right. Let's take a peek at what our peeps are doing today. Right. There will be, just so you know, don't forget that there will be kind of settling up before the 2 o'clock. So if the market's up, then you'll see it start to sell off a little bit of some profit taking. If the market's down, same thing. So reversion to the mean, yada, 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 for the day. Okay. So we had a lot going on with Stitch Fix. Wow, the retail peeps were spot on with this Stitch Fix. They were buying it nonstop all this week into earnings. Just saying. Vimeo, SoFi got an upgrade, AAH. That was initiation. I apologize for Jeffries. ACN Accenture got an upgrade today, right? Yesterday, AAH, right? Let's see what's going to happen. Yesterday was really interesting. Basically, it was 77.23%. The put buying was on ACB, right? These are actually new sweeps coming in. EFA. We had fun with INDI. I'm still in that one. Lucid, we had fun with that. Still in that one. Day 3 with that, right? But, Nike, we see some retail stuff coming in. And we'll see how it plays out. Uber, long-term swings on that, yada, 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 yada. Okay. You know the drill. All right, let's look at what our hype's doing. So this is basically social media, what's going on pre-market here. Cleveland Cliffs, ET, Energy Transfer, FedEx, right? UPST, Valet, right? And then the rest of 4. So we like the 5s and 6s. We haven't hit 6s in quite some time. See how that plays out. Yesterday, Quantum, QS, 29.4 million shares, average of 6.22 million, right? 1 million in stocks, right? So AMC, we had 2.4 million. The AMC is always getting money, right? But this Quantum was pretty notable and something we have to pay attention to. Till they just leave it alone, right? GM, whatever, right? So let's take a look here. I want to share with you this. And this is what I'm sharing you with. This is what I look at on another monitor all the time. And you can see, but this is what I want to bring your attention to. XOP, SOX, IWF, all of these, indices, ETFs, right? I haven't seen this since the pandemic started last year. These PE multiples down here. This is once again another reset that we like to look at, right? So I'm just saying, really interesting. Okay. All right. Let's take a peek now at what's going on in terms of the dumb money, smart money. Okay, so smart money hasn't been selling as much as dumb money. Dumb money's uses and uses, right? Notable. So here's the spread. So this is why it's reflected that it's going up, right? And what this tells us is that uses and measies were out of Dodge, we're getting out, but the smart money is saying, nah, I'm not as bearish as you guys are. It's literally that, okay? First shocking, I don't know. It's all about the headlines, right? First shocking drop in months, whatever. What does it mean? It's been 4 months since 2 standard deviation moved down, whatever. It's bullish. That's what it means. 1 week, well, not so much 2 weeks, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, 1 year. Bullish, bullish, bullish. Market goes up. This goes back to 1958. This is why I'm saying this is a fantastic opportunity. The only problem with this is that because the VIX is so high now, it's expensive to go further out. But I am starting to get filled on some like 2024 limit orders that I have it. Okay. All right. VIX futures rank reversal by signal. Yeah, it's bullish. You know what I'm going to say, right? All of this. It's bullish, bullish, bullish. Breath. Oh my goodness gracious. 10, 50 day, 200 day. Oh my god. Bounce. I keep saying this. Bouncity bounce, 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 bounce. We've already started to see it yesterday, right? It was like green all the way up to here. It doesn't take a lot to reset this, remember? Okay, so, but irregardless, there's still lots of tailwind for this market. That's why I think the market's going to have a relief rally after this taper talk and yada, yada, yada. And then we go from there, you know? But who knows? I wouldn't be betting on it, but that's my thought. Okay, risk on, risk off. As you can see, risk off trades coming in, risk on trades selling off. Clear across the board. You can see this dumb money, fear and greed, yada, yada, excessive optimism. Everything's yanking code. This is what we needed to see for the next leg up in the market. Fund flows. Guess what? SPY, once again, some of the diamonds and IWM, right? On the sell side, not a whole lot, but XLP, consumer staples. This is the bonds. Neutral. DXN, gap fill time. It always fills a gap. But this weekly and this week or next week is going to fill that gap. That's why I've got some puts on volatility. VXX puts on. It always fills the gap because it's a momentum. As the momentum wanes, right? Zoop, comes back in. And this is what we actually need to see. But on the other side of that, some of the stocks that were sold off held up because the volatility premium and the options held up. So that's going to start pancaking and offset some of the bounce that we're seeing. So it gets complicated, I know, but that's the story. Okay, yeah, nothing here. This is the spread between the VIX and VXN. So basically, this is telling us that it's moving, it's neutral, it's both are moving equally. Government bonds, let's say, take a peek at this right now, my friends. So once again, I cannot impress upon you enough. The 5-year is the sweet spot. The 10-year is no longer. The 5-year is the taper sweet spot. Please, it's important. Because if you're looking at the 10-year, it's not going to give you the same sort of reflection as the 5-year. Right? 5-year, I cannot say that enough times. Yields up in Germany, France, UK, down in Spain, Italy, and they are down across the board in Asia Pacific Rim, mainly because China's quantitative easing. Okay, 10-year. Up under the quadrant, pull back. I don't know what's going to happen here. There's a 1030. This is what scared the bejeebies out of me. But as you can see here, it kind of is holding up okay. It's kind of holding this downtrend line. So maybe we get a bounce on that. And here's the 210, right? But then we say, okay, Beth, what is that? And here's the 5-year. No. I don't know if it breaks or not. I mean, well, we got a new quadrant, right? So, you know, this is a new quadrant right here. So I don't know. And here's the 530. This is a big deal, right? Because as you can see here, the yield curve is flattening, the 5 against the 30, and it's at a key monthly breakout level going back to 2018. Notable. So something's going to happen today. That's all I have to say. I'm going to see a big range. I don't know what it means, but we're going to see something. All right, so here's the 5 against the 10. As you can see, that A2 is flattening that yield curve, right? I have to say, in all honesty, this is a very unimpressive bounce in the market. But it was enough to reset all of the oversold stuff. But, you know, kind of concerns me that we've got such a weak bounce. German rates have come back down below this. This is a monthly trend line, yada, yada, yada. And then you can see the German against the US. Yeah. This will change. Here's the Chinese interest rates, right? Coming down. This is a crazy ass candle, right? This is a monthly one. Anyways. And then we have right here the Chinese against the US. And as you can see here, my friends, Chinese is starting to break down here. I'm gonna take it easy. Take a peek at the dollar. Dollar's still hanging up top here. This is not a good look. This is going to impact, especially if this starts to continue to go higher. All these multinational companies is going to directly impact the earnings. Notable, something we have to watch out for. And here's the Chinese in one. All right, so not much going on here, but as you can see here, it's safely inside this sweet spot here. The question is going to be, do they feel compelled to weaken the currency more? They may have to. I don't know. That's a wait and see sort of thing. Okay. Let's take a look at the futures now. EFA, small cap, monthly, weekly. Bounced right off of the weekly extension that goes all the way back to December 2020. So for this year, right? Here's the DAX. Also bounced off of this extension. Well, this is actually a bounce box. Okay, so we're in this quadrant right now. I had no idea which way. It hasn't broken down and it hasn't broken out. So we're kind of in no man's land. This could happen for multiple months. And as you can see, this has been going on since March, right? All right, here's the Shanghai Composite bounced right off of this downtrend extension on the weekly. And it bounced into this triple top. So wait and see. If it does break through, then we're going to get to the top end here. Don't forget quantitative easing. We know the drill on that, right? Okay, here's the K one. Now this I shouted out yesterday. This was absolutely positively fascinating. Okay, so why was this fascinating? Because BABA actually broke the lows, okay, from last month, but the K-Web did not. So that was a huge red flag divergence going on. Notable. K-Web's reclaiming. So what this tells me is that BABA still is going to be weak against the others. And this is a big deal, right? And I'm still in BABA put spreads, right? This is BABA against the CQQQ. As you can see, it's still selling off BABA, notable. BABA against PDD, still selling off, notable. So why is this important? Because I still think the market is saying the risk is on the downside. And they're using BABA as a surrogate to sell that market. That's all that it means. Now, that doesn't mean that BABA is not going to bounce, but this is why I continue to hold BABA puts against my JD, against my Baidu, okay? Against my K-Web, because it's still telling me that it hasn't reclaimed any key support, and that's why the hedge is still on there, okay? I'm just being reflective, just telling you what I'm thinking, right? My time is up. Welcome once again for those of you joining. It's going to be a fun day with FOMC this at 2 o'clock, 2:30. We'll see what how things present themselves. Ready for me to pass on? Are you ready, sir? I shall continue to chat until.
Yeah, Beth, I need 30 seconds here.
Okay, sure. Right. So Baba Baidu, same narrative, right? Baba's weakening against that, right? Fang. It did hold this extension, which I'm kind of happy about. Ish. This is monthly, okay? So when it's all said and done, the market's held what it needed to hold for it to curl up and mix the neck and start to move higher again. So that's what the Fang is telling us. Let's take a look at the Dow Transports, A2. This is a monthly Dow Transport. It held where it needed to hold on this extension going back to last year. A year ago, October. Notable. Well, FedEx isn't going to help, but you know, okay. Financials, same thing. Financials is a little bit different look. It's more of a consolidative sideways pattern. So I'm not exactly sure if this extension is meaningful. So we'll see what happens. We basically are holding a higher low here with this quadrant right here. This is coiling. There's going to be a big move. I don't know which way though. And you can't assume it's on the upside. So you just have to be patient. XLK. Reversion to the mean. This is so exciting. This gets me excited because we talk about this stuff. This is what reversion to the mean looks like. Right? And that reversion to the mean was also the 23.6% fib, the shallowest sell-off, right? We've got a freaking gap to fill. And you know me, we always fill gaps, right? That's my thing. So we have a gap here to fill on XLP, LFG, right? XLP, it actually has been weaker than the XLK. So this is consumer staple. So it actually went below reversion to the mean, but it did hold this extension on the weekly. All right, so that's a good thing. I like consumer staples. I can't, I just don't look at them short term. For me, long term, I just want to be in them. They have the best ability to raise prices and take care of some supply chain issue. Well, not supply chain, but cost issues, right? So I don't know, it's dividends, it's XLC. It also extended way beyond the revision to the mean, but it did hold this box, lower end of the box. Okay. It's got a gap to fill, you know the drill on that, right? So, we'll see how that plays out. XLY, reversion to the mean, right? Held the extension, still within the box. My only problem is right now is, we've got these multiple M's and I don't like these M's, right? I like my W's, right? But an M can become a W, right? If it goes like this. We'll see, right? XRT. So these are the things I want to look at. Retail's basically been selling off as well. Retail was a leader, right? We want to see if that can reclaim some of its stature. But the reality still is I do have some retail on. I have some Nike on. Okay, I have a little bit of XRT puts as a hedge. But, I'm being a little bit hesitant. And the reason why I say that is because the bounce has been awful. I mean, literally awful. I mean, if you look at the net, I mean, seriously, awful. Okay. I mean, you basically go from here, you go down, 5%, and you're only bouncing, 1%. I don't know.
Hi, Beth, ready? Come on.
All right, let's have some fun, friends.
Alrighty, thank you so much, guys. Morning, what's going on? Let me just pop up the screen share here. All righty. So let's take a look at what we got going on today. A couple different things. If you guys are new to chat, Discord link's emailed to you. Make sure to click the link. If you don't see it, it's going to be in your junk mail box. And then go to the new to chat information section when you guys do come in. All right, let's just take a look at what we got going on today, guys. So a couple different things. Pre-market tickers on watch: Tesla, Adobe, FedEx, SFIX, MRIN, AEMD. Tesla gapping up in sympathy with the market. Adobe earnings beat EPS and revs in line. Year-over-year growth 22%. Q4 guidance slightly higher. Street expected, stronger earnings. Stocks gapping down. FedEx earnings miss EPS and revs. Slight beat. Year-over-year growth 13.9%. 2022 guidance for EPS was lowered on FedEx. Stocks gapping down. SFIX earnings beat EPS and revs. Year-over-year growth 28.8%. Q1 guidance lowered for 2022. Q1 guidance lowered and 2022 guidance lowered, which kind of was odd that it was gapping up so much today, but we'll go over the technicals on that. MRIN, company entered into a revenue share agreement with Google LLC to develop its enterprise tech platform and software products last night. Stocks gapping up, and then AEMD gapping up on volume. Let's take a look at these names from a technical standpoint. Intraday, first two we're going to be looking at, guys, Tesla and Adobe. And the reason I continue to look at Tesla is just strength in the name. Compared to the other tech names, has been fantastic on the sell-off. So you got to note that relative strength, held the uptrend back above short-term EMA support. And we'll see what this thing can do today. So let's see. Let's take a look at that intraday chart here. Pivot's going to move up a little bit from yesterday. So pivot on the upside will be 746.26. If this level is able to be reclaimed, we do have room for continuation this morning towards, or this today, I should say, 756.86 on the upside. And if that level breaks, we can see further continuation into the 764.31 resistance. Unable to hold, we look for a pullback towards 738.37 to 731.06 on the downside. Overall on Tesla, going to be leaning bullish, looking for a continuation push higher if that pivot point can hold. Let's take a look at this Adobe here. So this thing, earnings beat EPS and revs, year-over-year growth 22%, Q4 guidance slightly higher. I guess Street expected stronger earnings. Wasn't really that much bought into, but did have a nice little pullback this morning, or last night, I should say. All right, so let's label the bottom end ranges here. I guess we can go one below that. All righty, so what's the lower end? 607.83. Okay. So pivot to the downside today, 621.23. Levels unable to hold, 612.10 to 607.83 on the downside. Able to hold, we look for a pushback towards 632.11 to potentially 640.61 on the upside. Overall on Adobe, going to be leaning bullish neutral, looking for a bounce on the name today. So looking for basing on a bounce, potentially test that 50 MA on the daily, which is that's retest that 50 MA on the daily, which is around that 640, 632.11 area. But I'll be looking for a curl to take the name long before that. Otherwise, if it just pushes out the gate, then yeah, you can go after it on the long side, I think. Watch that pivot. The pivot's going to be the most important part on that name today, I believe. But earnings were decent. Wasn't really bought up into them. So I think you could see some buying and basing across the lows. That's Tesla, that's Adobe. Let's take a look at the next two. FedEx, SFIX. All right, FedEx, SFIX, FedEx, let's take a look. So stock obviously pulling down. This thing's been beaten down, selling basically just continuously for quite some time. Yeah. Some lower end support levels from before. Get one more support level here before we look at the daily. There we go. All right, let's take a look at that intraday chart. 232.02. Sorry, 235.02. Pivot to the downside today. Levels able to hold. They got room towards 241.56 to 245.77. Unable to hold, we look for a pullback towards 231.69. And if that level breaks, we can see further continuation lower into that 228.79 spot on the downside. Overall on FedEx, going to be leaning on the bearish neutral side today, looking for continuation lower if that pivot's unable to hold. Been quite weak for some time, and I think that can continue to go to the downside. This is the large range support on the daily, that 235.05. So we've got to keep an eye on that pivot at definitely this morning. All right, let's take a look at SFIX. So coming off the lows, I guess it was sold off into earnings quite big time. So risk reward was probably back to the upside after they reported. And the lowering of guidance wasn't that bad, I guess. Probably just lost these lows. Okay, let's take a look at this thing intraday here. All right, 39.12 pivot to the upside today. This level was able to hold. You got room towards 41.05 to 43.73 to be tested. Unable to hold, look for a pullback to 37.25 to 34.95 on the downside. Overall on SFIX, going to be leaning on the bullish side today, looking for continuation higher. Basically hold the pivot, continuation to the upside into that 50 EMA, which is that 43.73 area. It's a good looking daily. Coming off the lows, clearly some relative strength on their negative earnings, which is bullish for continuation, in my opinion. So that's FedEx, that's SFIX. Let's take a look at the next two, MRIN, AEMD. Holy smokes, guys. Looks like our Sava calls are going to be nicely in the money here. Oh, 10 points. That's going to be nice to wake up to. All right. We'll see where that opens up this morning. Just saw that they had a 12-month update. Okay, so MRIN, let's take a look at that. I knew there was something up in that name, eh? Beauty. Okay, MRIN, let's take a look. Former runner as well. Stock obviously gapped up big time. Let's see where he's got room to today. I think that should suffice. But let's go back real quick. Just need the upper end levels just in case. We're in support, so good. All right, let's take a look at this on the daily. All right, so pivot to the upside today is going to be the 965 level. Level's able to hold. You got room for continuation towards 1070 to 1197. Unable to hold 882 to the 770 level on the downside will be tested. Overall on the MRIN, going to be leaning bullish. Neutral, looking for a continuation push higher today. So we'll see what happens there. Let's take a look at, basically, I think it can grind higher. That's what I'm saying. Continue to squeeze to the upside. I mean, it's news with Google, so, and it's a former runner. And it's nothing but positives in my opinion there. AEMD, let's take a look at this. So gapping up on volume, and let's do that. Let's reload this chart. Okay. Let's take a look at this thing, AEMD intraday here. Upper end level, I believe, is what, 611 or 630? Yeah. Okay. All right, so pivot to the upside today. 469 levels able to hold. 530 will be tested. If that level breaks, we got room for continuation into the. I'm just gonna let you guys know exactly what that level is. 630. Unable to hold. Look for a pullback to 431. 431 to 365 on the downside. Overall on AEMD, going to be leaning bearish, looking for a pop topping to take the stock short. So that's MRIN, that is AEMD. All righty, let's take a look at the SPY and the FANG. Just going to quickly save this. All right, so spot pivot to the upside today is going to be that 436.14 spot. That level is able to hold. Room towards 437.32. If that level breaks, we can see further continuation into the 438.14 on the upside. Unable to hold, look for a pullback towards 434.73 to the 433.93 on the downside. Overall on the SPY, going to be leaning on the bullish neutral side today, looking for a continuation grind higher. Want to see it reclaim or push back into this EMA resistance to 437.72, reclaim that. Did a pretty good job of holding up yesterday. We'll see what happens. Daily chart still doesn't look great by any means. It's still below all EMA support, but I think it's got room to retest it back on the upside. So that's the SPY. Let's take a look at Apple. Apple, same thing, except slightly extended to the downside still. Pivot to the upside today will be this 144.21 spot. Levels able to hold. They got room towards 145.10. Unable to hold. We look for a pullback on Apple towards that 142. So 143.53 on the downside. Overall on Apple leaning bullish neutral. Looking for a continuation grind higher. So looking for a similar move with the SPY to the upside. Let's take a look at Amazon. So Amazon pivot to the upside today is going to be this level right here. 33.41. This level is able to hold. They got room towards 33.63 to 33.94. Unable to hold 33.20 to that 32.89.81 will be tested on the downside. A little bit extended to the downside as well on the daily. Going to be leaning bullish neutral, looking for a continuation bounce back to the upside. Should be a grind bullish neutral type of move. Netflix, let's take a look here. This thing's basically been fighting to reclaim that flag range on the upside, doing a pretty good job. 575.12 is going to be the pivot to the upside today. Levels able to hold. 582.71 will be tested. Unable to hold. We look for a pullback towards 567.20. Leaning a little bit on the bearish neutral side today, just because it's still below EMA support, isn't really extended at all. So leaning a little bit on the bearish neutral side because of that. Let's take a look at Facebook. $358.26 pivot, levels able to hold. They got room towards 360.20 to the 362.52 spot. Unable to hold, we look for a pullback into the 350.483 on the downside. Overall on Facebook, leaning bullish neutral, still extended off the lows to the downside. So I think we can push back, retest that 50 MA on the daily, as well it is, and did have some bullish consolidation on the hourly yesterday. So just got to get back above that pivot. We should continue to bounce there. Google, last of the FANG here. So it's actually got a pretty good bounce yesterday. $27.92.61 pivot to the upside today. This level is able to be reclaimed. We got room for continuation higher into the 28.23, sorry, 28.23.21. Yeah. Level unable to hold 27.62.60 to 27.38 will be tested on the downside. Overall on Google, we're going to be leaning on the bullish neutral side today. Looking for a continuation grind higher as well. All right, let's take a look at the QQQs, VIX, IWM. So we'll do the VIX first. So I always use the VIX for direction on the market. You can see that it's kind of flagging on the daily here. That's worth noting. It did break back below short-term EMA support in the pre-market. Also worth noting, and that's going to be the pivot area. So around 23.14 pivot, levels unable to hold, room towards 21.90 to 20.77 on the downside. Able to hold, we look for pushback towards 24.30 to 25.23 on the upside. Overall, just keep an eye on that pivot. Gives you nice direction on the SPY. Although the VIX has not been leading the market the last couple of days. It's been more of like IWM and QQQ, kind of back and forth. But still worth watching. It may, flip back over to the VIX leading the direction to the upside downside, right? All right, let's take a look at the QQQs. So QQQ guys, it is trying to reclaim the 50 EMA on the daily. I kind of like the QQQ chart actually. If you get above that pivot, which is going to be 368.53, which I'm going to move this up. Get rid of this. So pivot to the upside today, 368.53, levels able to hold. 370.35 will be tested. Unable to hold, we look for a pullback towards the 367.45, 366.55 on the downside. Overall in the Qs, leaning bullish neutral if we can get back above that pivot. But I'm looking for at least a retest of it this morning. So I'll push into the pivot. We'll see if it's able to reclaim. If it is, great. We got some nice room for continuation. If not, pull back down. And then IWM, guys, last but not least, the names that we're looking at today. So it held that range to the downside. Not a great looking daily chart, but going to be retesting the short-term EMA support, which is basically exactly where last day's highs was. So 219.14 is going to be the pivot to the upside today. This level is able to reclaim, room towards 220.22. Unable to hold, look for a pullback towards 217.48 on the downside. Overall on IWM, I'm going to be leaning on the bullish neutral side today, looking for a continuation push higher if that pivot point can be reclaimed. So that is the IWM. So that's a SPY, that's a FANG. Those are the individual names that we're looking at today, guys. I'm going to go ahead, pass it over to Self Beach while I type up the pre-market action plan. And when I come on, we'll do a quick little recap of everything we talked about and be ready for the open. So Self Beach, ready? It's all yours.
Hey guys, okay, let's get right into it. On Wednesday, 10-year bond unchanged, 1.326, awaiting for the Fed, 2 o'clock meeting. Okay, we'll be listening for what they say about tapering. I doubt they'll talk about raising rates. They'll probably say it's not even on the radar at this point, but they should address tapering. We'll see what they say. Now remember, when the Fed minutes come out at 2 o'clock, the first move is often the wrong move. So don't go in there and start pushing buttons right away. Relax, wait a few minutes. And oftentimes the mood changes when they start having the Q&A at 2:30. So keep it in your drawers. Okay, don't get too excited too fast. You'll be sorry. In London, the 10-year unchanged. In Germany, the 10-year unchanged. France unchanged. You get the picture, guys. Okay, so nothing really doing on the bond front. I don't think, we'll see what happens later. I don't think it'll be monumental. And like I've been saying for like a broken record now for what, well over a year, stocks are the only game in town, okay? And they should continue to be fine. Now, we're gonna have fits and starts and periods of weak, sideways action and maybe even a down move. But at the end of the day, those are short-term, midterm, and long-term equities look, like I said, the only place to be. Okay, let's see what else we got. We got commodities. Oil is up a buck, 1%. Okay, 1.2% to be exact. And natural gas, which has been the real sticking point here. So it got up to 550, it's 480 from 250. A lot of pain in Europe with this thing. And we'll see what happens, okay? So it's coming off its highs, but I don't think it's going to change anything, to be frank. Copper's up 11 cents. I'm sure that has to do with China. But it's still in the middle of that trading range it's been in for a long time, 4 to 470. It's right, 423. So it's kind of a little below the midpoint. And lumber is doing what? Unchanged at 600. Okay. Currency market, dollars down against North America, up against the yen, and flat against China. And the euros really never moves. It's at 117. Okay. In the crypto world, we have Bitcoin effectively unchanged, up a couple of bucks, 1.16%. Ethereum's up 1%. Now, my thinking is that that story I heard about Tether and buying, companies' debt as, with the money that comes in, saying, your dollars are protected and we have dollar for dollar and all this other nonsense. If they're invested in this stuff, property guys in China, I don't care what the Chinese government does, okay? They're going to be in trouble. And I think that's what's affecting crypto in the short run here. And whether that's right or wrong, I mean, that's the pervasive thinking, and that's why people are staying away from it. And that's why it acts kind of heavy. We still have that, 50,000, 40,000 band. So it's at 42, lower end of the band. We'll see what happens. It should hold 40. If it doesn't, I think a lot of people are going to get toasted. We'll see. Okay, let's look at the foreign markets. So you got the FTSE up 1.5%, 100 points, and DAX up 0.7%, 117 points. Nikkei is down 200 points, I should say, 0.67. China was down a little bit, 0.7. I don't think that's a real market. I think those guys are in there buying stocks. No different than the US government would do if they had a situation like this, to be frank. And Hong Kong is up 0.5%. So that's how we see it. Let's see what's going on otherwise. So today, the big thing is the Fed meeting, right? We know that. And we'll see what happens 2 o'clock. So going into the 2 o'clock hour, guys, I would only have investment positions on. Trading positions, I would have either none or minimal, okay? And when you ask yourself the question, should I be in this stock? Ask yourself this question. If the Fed does something crazy, will it affect the price of the stock? If the answer is no, then you can hold it, okay? Most things will trade with the Fed. So that's that. China, we had them inject $90 billion in liquidity, okay, trying to alleviate some of the roughness that's going on with this Evergrande. But here's the funny thing about Evergrande, okay? And why I always say you got to listen to the bond market, that the equity markets are the dumb guy in the classroom. These bond guys knew this a long time ago, that this situation was a problem. And the bond was trading at 20 cents on the dollar. So the equity market woke up Thursday, Wednesday, something like that. And it was already in the market for the most part. So when you realize that the bonds have been trading at, you know, a substantial discount to where they were, generally, okay, the stock market overreacts. Okay, and the reaction on the other side of the event is going to be muted, like we see here today. Okay, so keep in mind, if there's something that's not, you know, you think is out of left field, check what the bonds have been doing. And if they have been trading down for a period of time, it's not out of left field. Okay, it's just that it's out of left field for equity markets, not out of left field for guys who have their eye on the ball. Okay, so that's what's going on in China. They did pay a what, 34 million. They have another one for 47 million later in the week. I would imagine that'll get paid as well. But I think the Chinese government wants housing prices lower. I talked about it yesterday with the birth rate at what, 1.3, and they want it up at 2.1. And the reason that it's low is because a lot of fellas aren't making enough money and can't afford a house. And so I think they want property prices down to get the birth rate up. It's a whole, you know, whole thing going on over there. So I think you haven't seen the end of these real estate companies in trouble. But will it affect the US market? I really don't think so. Okay. Crypto we discussed, right? Oil we discussed. The virus was expecting an FDA announcement today. I think that's all a bunch of BS, to be honest with you. I think, you know, people who want to get, you know, booster are going to get it, no matter what the FDA says. That's how I see it. We'll see. Okay. So that's the virus. The dollar we discussed. Mr. Market yesterday. Let's see what we had yesterday. So what do we have up? We had FANG and biotech was strong. Cyclicals were weak. Airlines, machinery, rails, casinos. Okay, that was the weakness. The market was off of what, 100 points. S&P 16. They got hit late in the day. You saw that. People were scared to hold stocks overnight, I guess. Okay. Looking at the charts, what do I see? The S&P still looks fine. It hasn't broken my the weekly chart. It did roll over in the daily. I mean, I am concerned, but it's not a sell signal. And the Qs are basically the same. The daily looks kind of sort of brokenish. Not so much on the weekly. I go by the weekly. On the IWMs, it looks like we're going to get a cross there. That's negative. And the transports have been the real pig. And they did cross. So not a good situation for a leading indicator, but we'll see. Okay. I'm trading the way I see them. Okay. I'm trying to stay as light as I can on trading positions. And that's how I see it. Okay. As far as numbers overnight, we had Stitch Fix was good and General Mills was good. ELMS is up on a purchase order. RKLB signed a launch contract. Blue submitted a drug to the FDA. Sonic Automotive did an acquisition, and JP Morgan increased their dividend. So that's on the plus side. On the negative side, you had a FedEx miss, basically because of wage hikes and worker shortages. I think that's endemic pretty much for everybody. And with the Christmas season rolling around, I hope it gets alleviated for these guys because they hire a lot of people in the fourth quarter, right? Adobe missed, nothing terrible unless you long the stock, but most of the guys like that one. And INNV, same situation. So SMMT is down on a miss with the FDA. LPTX did an offering. Corvus did an update on a drug, but you saw a 13D filed by Tang. These guys are pretty smart guys. NOTV did a convert. Play got their CEO unexpectedly retired, and Workhorse is having problems with their rollout of their new whatever the hell it is that they're selling. Okay, so they had to put a suspension on it. That's not that rare, but to tell you the truth, guys, if you look at this chart and you're long this stock, you deserve to lose money. Stock looks like crap. on the daily. You had a cross on the on the weekly when the stock was 25 bucks, and the stock continues to act like crap. I don't know why anybody would be long the name, to be honest. Wednesday after the close, you got BB, KBH, Steelcase comes out. Thursday before the opening, you have Darden, Rite Aid, Accenture, and Scholastic. Later in the Thursday after the close, you got Nike, that's the big dog, and Costco. And Friday, you got Carnival Cruise. Okay, those are the earnings. Let's see what else we got research-wise. Let's see if there's anything here worthwhile. Downgrades, FedEx by Raymond James. I don't think that's significant. Valet by Bank of America, I think they're dead wrong. ESPR, the guy's been right at Goldman, and now he reduces his target from 16 to 8, stocks 12.92. That's probably the best call on the short side, ESPR. Zim initiated with sell over at JP Morgan, stock target 46. That's probably worth a look. And that's it on the short side. Okay, on the long side, Jeffrey's like SoFi. I don't know, stock's been a pig. Everybody liked it. Stock hasn't budged. It's at the lower, almost on its lows for the year. Can it lift here? Maybe it can. Look, I want to like the stock, but it's been a pig. Okay, there's no other way to look at it. Can it get going? Maybe it can get EMA support today, and I guess it would be okay to hold it. But I have to see that to believe it. Okay, so that's SoFi. It is probably the biggest call on the day. Uber, Wolf lowered the target, but they like the stock. Slow melt up is what they're saying. I like Uber, guys. JP Morgan outperformed target 72. I'm long Uber XY, just for the record. Everybody likes Adobe. All right, they missed a little bit, stocks down, but across the board, guys like it. BMO target 720. I mean, it's just everybody thinks Adobe's great. JP Morgan raises the target from 660 to 680. Yada yada. So that's it on Adobe. Stitch Fix, I see targets at 65 bucks from Adams Harkness, down from 71. People like this name as well. They reduced the target from 75 to 70 at Key. I think they got a new CEO, so that's what's giving me reason to kind of sort of like it, if I'm not mistaken. So I may look at this one as well. People like FedEx as well. They reduced their targets, but pretty much across the board, they maintain either their outperform or buy. And let's see if there's anything else here. This surprised me. UBS lowered their target in Discovery, DISCA, from 38 to 27. So this stock was what, like 90 bucks or something like that? Yeah, close to that, or damn close to, what's the year high? 52-week high, 80 bucks. Okay, so it was 80 bucks. Now it's 25. You would have thought it would bounce. It just can't. And if you look at the charts, guys, this is why I use these moving averages so as a religion almost. This stock has looked like crap. And it really never gave you a reason, maybe one day, to buy the stock. And it hasn't had EMA support in forever. And Viacom, same true. Let's look. I think you're right, though. Hold on. Yep. It looks like crap also, War Daddy, 100%. Okay, and you would think, especially for Viacom, when people are, looking for content, that they would be a little better, a little bit up a little better, but no, they're not. One call I did like, Tech was upgraded to outperform. I forgot to mention this. Target 34 from 31 at BMO, stocks 23. Thought that was worthwhile. And let's see if there's any other research. I don't think so. Yeah, that's about it. There's not much. Good old Kathy, she bought Zoom. She bought some Roku. She keeps buying this SGFY, healthcare. DNA, she bought a little bit of that. Path, she's back, 350,000 shares. She's going to end up owning this whole company if it stays down here. Teladoc, she bought 90 grand. She bought some Hood. And on the sell side, she sold IRDM, CRBU. Okay. In the IPO world, we have what? Three IPOs. Okay. The first one, AKA, it's a business SAS. Looks like a pig to me. Priced at the bottom of its range, probably garbage. Fresh, FRSH. Priced low end of the range there too. I don't think it's so great, and that one doesn't really turn me on either. The toast is the toast of the town. This is the hot deal. 21 million at 40, indicated 34 to 36. Goldman Sachs deal, digital payment process for restaurants. This one's good, guys. How it trades, who knows? I think the whole IPO process is a joke, because nobody but guys who give a lot of business can get any allocation at all. And it's bad for the company because they can get a much higher price if they did an auction, because you know this stock is going to open north of 50 at a minimum. Fresh was priced above the range. Did I get that wrong? Let's double check that. Fresh. You're right, 36. It was priced at 34, 36. I switched it with AKA. All right, so what does this company do? Let's take a better look, because I must have screwed it up. Let's take another look. FRSH. Yeah, that is business SAS IT products. Okay, whatever. We'll see what it does. Okay, thanks for the help. Well, according to this, it says provides a business SAS to customer support for IP products. That's what it says. I'm just reading it from Renaissance IPO. You can go and check it yourself. All right, so that's that. Okay, that's everything. Yeah. Oh, there's two secondaries, WMG, BILL, and a little one that I've been trading, LPTX, which is holding in pretty good. I think it was priced at 285 or something like that. And that's that. What else? Market. Okay, so I don't know, with the JP Morgan adding, thinking that the rates may go a little higher, the banks should come out of the chute pretty good, in my opinion, insurance stocks as well. The group that I bought pre-opening was the miners. I bought some Cliff, I bought some steel, and I was bidding for FCX, but didn't get any. That's my thinking in that group. Am I going to fade the opening? I'll tell you in a second. I might. I just want to see one thing. 1%, 1%, we're up 0.5%. Not quite sure. I'm not convinced yet either way. Okay. I may put out a little bit just to put my toe in the water and add to it if it gets, it starts going my way. I'm not opposed to doing it. Today is a little different than yesterday because the news is behind us as opposed to in front of us. So that's why I'm a little less gung-ho on fading it, but I probably will a little bit just to get the juices flowing this morning. Okay. And that's about it. Okay, guys. So I do think that the material stocks will be the leaders today. Okay. And that's it. So Spartan, it's all yours. Thanks for your time, guys. And let's make some money.
All righty, thank you so much, South Beach. Guys, morning. What's going on? Let's take a look at what we got going on today. A couple different things. Obviously, our SAV was gapping up. I was just looking at the levels. And if you guys want to know what they are right now, 58.49, 63.73, 69.56. All right. So let's take a look at what we get, what we got going on today, guys. Pre-market tickers on watch, a couple different things. Everything's posted in the pre-market section. So if you want to pause it, if you're watching the YouTube stream, want to read the action plan, you can go ahead and do that. There you go. There you are there, as well as on the option side. Okay. So anyways, pre-market tickers on watch. Let's take a look at what we got going on. Obviously, all the SPY FANG charts are posted as well. So what do we got going on today? Tesla, Adobe, FedEx, SFIX, MRIN, AEMD. Tesla gapping up in sympathy with the market. Adobe earnings beat EPS and revs in line year-over-year growth, 22%. Q4 guidance slightly higher. Should expect stronger earnings, I guess. Stocks gapping down. FedEx earnings miss, EPS and rev beat. Year-over-year growth, 13.9%. 2022 guidance, EPS lowered. Stocks gapping down. SFIX earnings beat EPS and revs. Year-over-year growth, 28.8%. Q1 and 2022 guidance lowered. Stocks gapping up though. Was beaten down, I guess, into earnings. MRIN company entered into a revenue share agreement with Google LLC to develop its enterprise tech platform and software products. Stocks gapping up on that. And AEMD gapping up on volume. So let's look at these names from a technical standpoint intraday. First two, Tesla and Adobe. So Tesla, Adobe, Tesla gapping up. Pivot to the upside today is going to be the 746.26 levels able to hold. 756.86, 764.31 will be tested, unable to hold. 738.37, 731.06 on the downside. Overall, going to be leaning on the bullish neutral side today, looking for a continuation push higher. Adobe 621.32 pivot, unable to hold. 612.10. If that level breaks, we can see continuation lower towards the 607.93 on the downside. Able to hold, look for a push back to 632, 11 to 640.61 on the upside. Overall on Adobe, leaning bullish, neutral, looking for a pull, then basing to take the stock long. Again, earnings were fine. I think you got to retest that 50 MA on the upside. So we're looking for a pull, basing to do so. FedEx 235 pivot. This level's unable to hold. We got room towards 231.69, and that level breaks. We can see further continuation at the 228.76 level. Able to hold. 241.56, 245.77 will be tested, meaning bearish on that name today. SFIX pivot 39.12 levels able to hold. 41.05 to 43.73 will be tested. Unable to hold. 37.35 to 34.95 on the downside. Overall on SFIX leading bullish neutral, looking for a continuation push higher if that pivot point's able to hold. Let's take a look at the MRIN and AEMD. MRIN 965 pivot level holds 1067 to 1197 will be tested. Unable to hold, we look for a pullback towards 882, 770 on the downside. Overall on MRIN leaning bullish, looking for a continuation push higher. AEMD pivot 469. Levels able to hold. We got room towards the 530 resistance. That level breaks. 628 will be tested. Unable to hold, well, 630, I guess. Unable to hold 431, 385, leaning bearish, looking for pop topping on AMD to take the name short today. Let's take a look at SPY. Market is pulling back slightly right now, but pivot to the upside today. 436.14. This level holds, room higher into the 437.32 resistance breaks. We see the 436.14 level tested. Pivot unable to hold. Room lower into the 434.72 support breaks. We see the 433.93 level tested. Getting bullish neutral on the market today. Looking for a continuation push higher if that pivot point's able to stay intact. So that is the SPY. Let's take a look at Apple. $144.21 pivot to the upside today. This level is able to hold. We got room for continuation on the upside into the 145.10 to 146.33. Unable to hold 143.53 to 141.97. Leaning bullish neutral if the pivot can be held today, a little extended to the downside still on that daily. Amazon pivot to the upside is going to be the 33.41 level holds, 33.63, 33.94, unable to hold, 33.20 to 32.89 will be tested on the downside. Overall on Amazon, going to be leading on the bullish neutral side today, looking for a continuation push higher if the pivot point is able to hold. Let's take a look at Netflix. Netflix pivot to the upside today, guys, is going to be the 575 12 levels able to hold, room towards 528.71 to 590.19, unable to hold 567.20 will be tested on the downside, leaning bearish neutral on Netflix today. Facebook got a little bit smacked here this morning, so levels kind of change, but lower end supports right now going to be the 347.01, then 342.78, above that 350.39 resistance to 354.63. That's that. Let's take a look at Google. $27.92.61 level holds, room towards 28.23, unable to hold 27.62 to 27.38 will be tested on the downside. Overall, Google leaning bullish neutral. Let's take a look at the VIX, the Qs, IWM, VIX pivot 23.14, unable to hold, room towards 21.90 to 20.77, able to hold 24.30 to 25.23 will be tested. Let's take a look at the QQQ. QQQ pivot is the 368.53 level, unable to hold, room towards 367.45, 366.55, 365.55 on the downside, able to hold or retest at 370.25 on the upside. And overall on the Qs, I was leaning bullish neutral. We'll see if what happens in regards to a bounce. I know Facebook's pulling it down a little bit here. And then last but not least, guys, IWM pivot to the downside today, or upside today, I should say, is going to be this level 219.14 EMA support reclaim on the daily. This level is able to hold, room towards 220.22 to 221.66, unable to hold 217.48 to 214.82 on the downside. And overall going to be leaning bullish neutral on that if we can get back above the pivot. So that's the SPY, that's the FANG. Those are the individual names that we're looking at today, guys. If you guys are